Blog Talk Radio.
Here at ACO Radio, American Communications Online, or any affiliated stations or websites are not responsible for what guest hosts or call-ins may say. All programming is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, world. This is TJ Morris, and you're listening to American Communications Online. And my company, or my brand, or channel, whatever you want to say, wherever you're pulling into Blog Talk or Spotify or wherever, is TJ Morris ET Radio. I've been sporting that since 2012 with Janet Carroll Lessin, and she has Aquarian Radio in Hawaii, and we're going to work on Saturdays in Paranormal with Ronnie Dawson out of Texas. So I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves. I'm in the panhandle of Gulf Breeze, Florida, and I guess I'm coming in okay. I'm trying to call in direct, which I don't like to do, into the studio on my computer. But I was just talking to Ronnie and Janet, so we'll see how this goes. So, Ronnie, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling in from, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Yes, my name is Ronnie Dawson. I'm a UFO alien contactee experiencer, and tonight we've started a paranormal show here called You Ain't Gonna Believe This, and we're gonna go deep into the paranormal, and we're gonna talk about everything from ghosts to Bigfoots and I've been asking around and getting some paranormal stories to share, real deal paranormal stories that actually happened to people, and some of them can't share them because of where they worked, but I can't share them without using their names and stuff. So I've got some good stuff to share tonight, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And like I said, I've seen enough stuff myself to know that there's more to this world than we could ever imagine, and we're going to talk about some of that here in the next few weeks on Saturday. It should usually be at 7 p.m. Sometimes by chance it may happen at 3 p.m., but usually 7 p.m. Central Time is the time I'm trying to get on here.
All right, thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, Janet, can you hear me? Do you want to introduce yourself in Hawaii?
Yeah, I'm the co-host, Janet Carroll Lessin, and not the co-host. I'm just tuning in today. This is going to be Ronnie's going to be the host, and then he'll have whoever he wants on. I guess if I'm understanding this correct, a new show called You Ain't Gonna Believe This. It's paranormal based. It'll be on. I guess you're going to want people to send you stories also, right, Ronnie? So are you going to have like an email where people can send you their stories so you can report them on the show?
Yeah, they can. I mean, it's okay if people call in, or otherwise I'm trying to get some people to come online, but they're kind of timid and scared. But they told me that they didn't mind me sharing their stories, so I could share it from a third person's perspective.
Well, it's a great idea. I love it. And if you could send me a description of your show, Ronnie, I'll put it up on my site, and it'll be available for people to read the description and the. I guess, TJ, you're going to facilitate putting up the show link each week. Are you going to be co-hosting with Ronnie, or are you going to be, how are you going to be doing this?
Well, we're just getting started. I wanted to do a series for him, so I have it on American Communication Online as the company. TJ Morris ET Radio is where we're broadcasting from. So, Janet, I don't know if you can syndicate on yours or just grab it.
Well, I won't be able to do this every Saturday. I can tune in now and again. I'm just, I have a lot of things going here. I have a farm in Maui, and, I have some organizational things. Like today I have a worker, and they haven't checked back in with me, so I might have to leave even this show. But I'm here to support you and to help this process. But we're trying to get food in here because of COVID and the coronavirus. We're trying to get more self-sufficient. We're over here in Maui. We've got the perfect growing climate, but I'm in the middle of organizing people so we can, get everything in place here. But, I can, now and again, I'll let you know week by week if it's okay that I can tune in. And like I said, I may have to go because I have workers here. I didn't know this was going to happen. And they might text me and I'll have to go take care of whatever's going on. But, I think it's a great idea. I would recommend you Ronnie or TJ would have a receiving place for all the stories that you would end up getting, Ronnie, so you can sort through. I mean, imagine you're going to get a lot of people. If they can share their stories anonymously, they're going to want to be able to do that. So you want to think about it, then sometime during the course of this show, tell people how they can, email their stories to you. Have you thought about that, Ronnie? Where do you want them to send their stories?
Yeah, they can send their stories to RonnieDawson11@gmail.com, and so RonnieDawson11@gmail.com. You can send your story in there.
Let me slow that down a little bit, Ronnie. You said that fast, okay? Let's slow it down.
Okay.
Because people are probably trying to write it down. One more time, but slow it down and spell it out.
Yeah, it's RonnieDawson11@gmail.com. RonnieDawson11@gmail.com. And you can send your stories in there, and we'll get them on for you. And we'll keep you anonymous if you choose to be.
What if they want to tell their story? Are you going to be allowing that? They could send their information. They could say, I'd like to be on, or I'd like to just read my story.
Right, yeah. You can come on and tell it if you'd want to do it that way, or we can just share it if you give us permission to do so.
Okay, it sounds great. I'm excited for you. It sounds like a great idea.
He does pretty good by himself. I could just produce it for him, but I'll be here. Paranormal's my thing. As long as my computers hold out and my phones, folks, I've been here. Me and Janet have been doing this. It'll be 8 years, Ronnie, next month, June 6th. Janet and I have been
8-year anniversary.
Archiving radio shows that long, and I've paid at least $40 a month every month for Blog Talk, and so is Janet. So Janet keeps hers up, I keep mine up, but I put her on here and told her about it. So I figured if she wants to syndicate it, she can too. So I think it's a good idea too, Ronnie. And you told yours, so it's on here. So and then we sort of caught up people, but however you want to do it, Ronnie, because I've got UAP Associates, folks, UAP .associates. I'm going to be building that domain name up. And then I have UFO Secret Space, and a big group over there on Facebook, and I think Ronnie's in that, and Janet. Ronnie, are you in our UFO Secret Space Facebook group? I've got a domain name.
That's a good question. I'm in so many groups, man. I don't even know.
Well, we may do I think we're going to do a UAP Associates for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Associates, because I talk to a lot of people that are on my psychic shows, and they love me to do readings, but a lot of them don't follow the UFO stuff. So, and Janet does a lot on Aquarian, but she and I pretty much stuck with just about everything. But I think Janet and I sort of went around ET contactees and Stargate to the Cosmos events. And we were going to blend UFO events and our psychic events together. And she did the last one, didn't you, Janet? So Stargate to the Cosmos 2018. So we'll let you know.
I'm done traveling. I'm done traveling for a while until, things get corrected in our economy, and it looks like it might be a while. So I think it's really smart to do things online, to do shows like this, maybe even some webinars. But I think this is a great public service to get out these stories. And I want to pass the mic to Ronnie here, because the more you normalize the paranormal events in the world, and you have a lot of like, me too, I saw ghosts, me too, this happened, then the more the more stories we'll start getting, because more people will be comfortable about telling their tales. So you said you had a couple good stories. You want to start out and tell us one, and then maybe TJ and I, you could be the interviewer, and TJ and I can tell a story. I'm wanting to get started into the meat of this, because any time now my workers are going to text me. I'm going to have to get off. So, Ronnie, would you like to start with a story?
Sure. Yeah, I was wanting to share my first ghost story. It was actually I I was a kid, probably 8 years old, and the grandmother I loved very dearly and was very sick, and she had gotten put into the hospital, and she was in bad shape, and I was really heartbroken because she was in the hospital, basically dying of some kind of flu, and I wasn't very old, 8, 9 years old, and anyway, I know that I was fixing to, they were talking about she was well enough that she could start having visitors. And I was getting ready the next day to go see her at the hospital, and that night something tapped me and woke me up, and it was my grandmother standing over my bed, and she told me, she said, look, Ronnie, I'm gonna die, and I look terrible up there, and she said, I don't want you to go up there and see me like that, and she said, I just looked awful, and she said, and I'm not talking right, and I'm just acting crazy, and she goes, I just want to let you know that I love you, and I'm going to see you again, but I'm going to die, and I don't want you to see me like that. She said, so please don't go up there. And then she turned, and I remember I could see through her. She was like a glowing mist, and she walked right into my closet. I remember getting up out of bed, and I looked in the closet, and there wasn't nothing in there but clothes. And I woke up the next morning, and I told my parents, I said, look, I said, Granny came and seen me last night, and she told me not to go to the hospital and see her like that. She said she was going to die, and she didn't want me to remember her like that. And they said, well, no, the doctors told us she's getting better. She's going to be all right, you know. And I said, well, you know, I don't want to go up there. Well, they went up there, and she had a sudden turn for the worse, and she ended up dying. And my parents just kind of freaked out, like, oh my God, you know, so you reckon that could be real? But you know, she looked certainly real. I could see right through her, but she was like a glowing mist. And when she walked in the closet, I actually got out of bed and walked over to the closet, and I looked in there, and there was nothing in there but clothes. It was just like, you know, it was like she hadn't died in the hospital yet, but yet it was like her life force or essence or whatever had left her body and came and visited me at my home. So, you know, that was my first experience with a ghost, you know, and really I didn't see any other ghosts for quite a while, but I was in the hospital at one point, and there was an old man that my dad and another buddy of his used to go out there, and they'd go drinking. They'd take me with them, and they'd go basically deer poaching off where this old man lived, and I mean, he lived way out in the middle of nowhere. And they would stop and they would drink beer with the old man, and then he would let us go on his property and shoot deer and stuff. And I was in the hospital and getting a surgery done, and they put me in a room with this, and my dad didn't know the old guy was in the hospital, but he remembered the old guy. He goes, hey, you remember? He goes, remember us? He goes, what are you doing in here? And he told him, he said that somebody had attacked him, or he thought, or maybe he had fell and hit his head or something, but he was in the hospital. And my dad had a nice conversation with him, and he ended up putting him in the nursing home, and he died there about 2 weeks later in that nursing home. Well, my dad and his friend named Billy Jack, they went out to go deer hunting out there on his old place. And they went out there, and my dad, you know, he's not one of those people that really believes in ghosts and stuff, but it was late in the afternoon. It wasn't even dark, and they were cruising into the property. And when they went by his old house at the back of the pasture, there was the old man sitting on his front porch in his rocking chair looking at them. And he said both of them just shut up, and they didn't say a word to one another, and they just drove by the house. He said they were scared to stop. They just drove by the house, and the old man was in the rocking chair looking at them. And he just kept looking at them, and as they drove by, my dad said he looked at them like, well, you guys ain't going to stop, you know, like you always do. And he just looked at them like, why aren't you stopping? And then when they got by the house, they looked at each other. He goes, did you see that? And he goes, I sure did. He said, I swear he looked at us like he was almost pissed off at us that we didn't stop, you know. And he said, well, you know, he died, you know, like 2 weeks ago. And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what to do. He goes, but I saw it. You saw it. And they went in there and they went about looking for their deer. They came back by the old house. And he said, you know, we got to stop. We got to go in there. And if nothing else, we'll take a beer in there, open it up, and leave it. You know, and it was creepy. My dad said he went in there and said, man, he was cold chills are running up his back after seeing all that. And they said they left the beer opened for the old man. And they said they never saw hide in the hair of him.